cyber violence hampers the full realization of gender equality and violates women's rights online. Welcome to another informative episode of Digital Dada. I'm Cecilia Maundu. I'm a broadcast journalist. I'm a digital security trainer, and I work at the intersection of human rights and journalism. So today's guest, if I introduce her, I'll not do justice. So I'll just let her introduce herself. First of all, I'm very honored that she agreed to sit down with me, and I will let her introduce herself.
All right. Thanks, Cecilia, for having me. My name is Maureen Waititu. I wear very many hats. I'm a gender equality a champion. I'm also a mom of two boys. I'm a businesswoman, a lawyer, and I'm also a TV host and a content creator.
You see, I would not have done any justice. So thank you so much for honoring. I met Maureen on the line of duty, and I must say at first I was a little bit hesitant to approach her because, I mean, she's this huge name. I was like, why would she want to sit down with me? And I must say you are one of the easiest guests I've ever approached. I felt like, how lucky can I be? I went home asking myself, how lucky can I be?
Oh, I'm so glad.
Thank
Cecilia.
you so much. Thank you so much. And here at Digital Dada, we advocate for safe spaces online.
Mm-hmm.
Our main focus is countering online violence.
Yes.
And Maureen, you're a content creator.
Yes.
We know your story.
Mm-hmm.
I want to first learn, and I'm sure my audience are curious to find out how you started your content creation on the digital platform. Because I must say your YouTube channel is one of the channels I started binging. I would be, do they have a new episode? So how did your journey start on the online platform?
Right. So first of all, I didn't see it coming. It was one of those moments where something calls you. So since back in the days, I was already in the arts industry. So I was modeling a lot. And of course, it gives you a niche whereby, when someone sees you on a billboard or TV, you become like a topic and they're curious to know. And I was really glad to share my journey. And then fast forward, my social media started growing with my then partner, and we decided to indulge into social media, content creation. And then I was alone after some time, and then I have never looked back. So but it's all been a point of sending a message out there, talking about anything that's informative and everything inspiring.
Yeah,
Yes.
fantastic. I just want you to encourage this young lady who is thinking of content creation, because the internet is an equalizer.
Yes, it is,
unlike before, now we have this space. I always say it's a blank check. It's how much you decide to pay yourself.
Yes.
So what advice do you have for this young lady who wants to get in content creation, or somebody who is in content creation and it has not been working out as they say? Because I can tell you, being on this space is not an easy task.
It's not easy.
Yes. So what advice do you have for this person?
All right. First things first, stop comparing yourself with other people. Have your mantra and follow it through. Then work on it. It takes a lot of work. It's work like any other. For instance, if I take a photo, I always ask myself the two things I talked about. Is it inspiring? Is it informative? Whether it's as simple as showing people where to get a cute item, or body positivity, or passing a message. Stick with it and then refine your skills. How you do that is following people who do the same thing. YouTube has a lot of tutorials, especially on content creation, editing. Like, I'm self-taught and I do everything. I take my own photos, I edit them, I take my own videos, I edit them, and I'm refining myself day in, day out. So of course, you can't also expect, to be an overnight sensation. If it happens, well and good.
Because we live in the microwave generation. We want everything instant.
Yesterday, they want it done yesterday. But what people forget, somebody like me, I've been building what I have for the last 9 years.
My God.
Right? And it just gives when you keep refining yourself. And trust me, everybody who needs to see it will see it. For me, it's more of the crowd I carry with me, the community I have, and also clients. So when I'm working, I'll think about my client and I'm like, okay, will this interfere what I'm building for the future? Will this, or rather, interfere with what I'm building for the future? Will this give a different perspective of my brand? Just stick with it and then stop this comparison game. It doesn't work. You'll be depressed. Nobody is posting their downtimes. Very few people are, but just be true to yourself. And then, of course, have a whole support system behind you, even if it's one person who gives you some stability in terms of how you think, so that when you express yourself online, you do it from a point of, stability, basically. Yes.
Wow, I like that. I think my take home is, first of all, don't compare yourself.
No.
Because, we like comparing ourselves.
Yes.
You cannot be an overnight sensation. Sometimes when I look at my podcast, I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I exactly doing?
So, sorry, Cecilia, can I tell you why I came here? It's because when I heard of what you do, I could relate with it. It's not because of anything else.
Yes.
I was like, oh my goodness, that's an opportunity I can get to also express myself. Regardless, it may reach 2 people, 10 people, 1,000 people, you never know.
Yes.
But do it well, even from the beginning. When this podcast blows up, you want to look back and say, my goodness, yes, I did well. My first day was good. I improved on day 10. I kept improving, but stick to the message. You just never know.
You never
looking
know.
out.
You never know.
Yes.
Thank you so much. So, as we say, the internet is an equalizer.
Yes.
And it also has a dark side.
Yes.
A very
dark side. Yes.
Maureen, share your experience about this dark side.
Well, up until 3 years ago, I was just a person who was not in the limelight per se, to a point where I'm being scrutinized or living under a microscope.
Yes.
And so internet was bliss. You post what you're posting for your people, you go. So I had not experienced the negative side of the internet until one day I woke up and I was put in a position where I was bullied so much. Basically, I was set up. And I got these people bullying me, coming to my DMs, calling me all kinds of names. The bloggers would take it. Some were so personal, labeling me, some very mean labels. Also talking about my very personal stuff, like how I grew up, without a dad, which is a journey I've opened up to the people. And since then...
And it's not your fault.
It's not my fault.
And it's not their concern.
Exactly.
Yes.
And it didn't stop there. It went all the way to my body. Basically, I got body shaming, mental health shaming, gender shaming, at some point, stalking, and also plain blatant insults out of just because, without people hearing about my story. And then one day, I just couldn't take it anymore. And I strategically again sat with my support system and I decided to push back and tell my side of the story, which was so unfortunate. I wouldn't wish for anybody to ever be in that situation where you have to explain yourself, especially when you're breaking apart and where you have to be strong for the people you care about. And this is because of somebody who knows you so well and they use your weaknesses against you. But thankfully, I did it. What kept me going was knowing my truth, but I had to, because you have to shut it down. And it worked. Not everybody gets an opportunity to do that, but for me, it made a whole difference. It went to almost like 100% to 2% of people bullying me.
Wow.
Yes.
I mean,
speaking out.
That is so good.
Yes.
So speaking actually helps.
It really helped. It really helped. And then since then, of course, it subconsciously affected me such that I would curate anything I'd put on social media.
Self-censorship.
Yes. And for like a year, I really shrunk, whereby I would really detach with my content. I wouldn't be my true, authentic self. I wouldn't express myself because I always knew what would come back and attack me. And then it's worse when other parties do things and they're affecting you indirectly, you find yourself trending for all the wrong reasons because of another person's doing. So unfortunately, by that time, I sank really, really low. And then I started coming out of it until one day I woke up and I said, look, I just continue doing what I've always done. And the good thing with that is that people, in as much as they have their own conclusions about themselves, there's a saying I love using, and I say, time tells it all. Time is just, you think the internet is an equalizer? Time
is an equalizer.
Time is an equalizer. It makes people see things as they are. Thankfully, looking back, I'm out of it.
Clearly, you can tell
I'm
by
completely out of
yes,
it.
yes.
I'm out of it. I'm able to handle people better. And also, I learned so much about cyberbullying. I know it's a lot of projection. A lot of people are not happy with themselves. And when they see you trying to rise, or they sense anything out of themselves that they can or cannot relate to, instead of understanding and being kind, they attack.
They attack, yes.
They attack. So I had to learn it's not me. The problem is not me. It was them. Of course, I'm not perfect. I've had my missteps, very many. I still do to date. But there's a difference between just bullying and what do you call it? What do you call it? Criticism.
Constructive
criticism, right? Whereby you improve yourself. Because I owe it to people to give them good content. I owe it to them to give them true content and also authentic content. So yes, it's been a journey. It's like I said, I wouldn't wish
it on
anyone. You don't know how it felt like waking up and then you're like, do I show up today? But somehow I kept showing up until the dark cloud passed. Yes.
Okay, Maureen, I'm just interested in finding out during those dark times, first of all, what kept you going?
Yes.
Because right now you're speaking to someone who is going through the same thing.
Yes.
What kept you going, and how did you manage to get out of that dark pit? Because most people, when they go through cyber violence, first of all, some of them just actually disappear from the online platform, and that is the agenda of this cyberbullying. It is just abuse wrapped in the name of freedom of expression. They want to abuse you in the name of we have the right to freedom of expression. So the agenda is to get you off the online platform. So how did you first of all also decide that I'm not leaving this platform? Because no one owns it. No one's owning it, and it's gender blind, doesn't know whether you're a man or a woman. So speak to these people who have actually gone through it, because also men go through online violence. The difference is when we go through the online violence, it's so gendered. It's about your body. It's about who you're married to, your children, your family. So how did you manage to get out of that space?
All right. So the first question was what kept me going? What kept me going was my audience. I had so many people, especially women, who would come and share their stories with me.
So glad to hear that, because we are killing that vibe of women are their worst enemies.
No. Yes. If anything, I had prayers sent to me from Australia, America, Malaysia, and it was all kinds of people, Kenyans in the diaspora, diasporians. I was shocked to know how many people just follow through the story. Oh my goodness, encouraging messages, and definitely people sharing and telling me not to quit, because somehow I was their source of strength at that moment.
I like that.
That really kept me going. Of course, content creation is like 90% of where I get my income from. So I had to show up. I had to create. And let me tell you, winning was so sweet. It was sweeter than the bullying because it changed the narrative. Every time I kept away from the scandal. In fact, if you look at my journey, I spoke once where I was I was
address the issue.
Just address the issue. Have never spoken about it again. But then I kept showing people that you got to wake up and win. And thankfully, everything I was putting out there was coming back to me. All right. Definitely my kids as well and my support system. I had a really wonderful support system at that moment where they just kept checking me anytime I'd want to rant and say something. They're like, no, talk it out, journal. Of course, I have an amazing therapist who I see to date. And he was also a voice of reason. Every time I would sink, he would just grab me and make me come up and then go like, go again, until basically it was forces from all ends that kept me going. How did I come out of that dark place? Like I said, sometimes you have to push back. When you feel like your silence would do more harm than speaking, speak and speak properly. Say your truth, say your story, and just shut it down. Of course, there are things, small things that I would do eventually to avoid all that. I would not dare Google myself, read comments.
I like that. Good.
Yes.
Because when I interviewed Jeridah and she told me she would never read the comments.
Yes.
She would, because she was also trying to protect herself mentally. Yes.
Exactly. What you don't know doesn't hurt you.
Yes.
And let me tell you, okay, so confession. I was a member of these two Facebook pages. I won't mention their names, but I was a topic every day. And there were people dedicated to hating on me. And there were others who, there was a whole fight. And let me tell you, in as much as I had more positivity coming in than the negativity, that negativity would bring me down so bad. And then I would be so anxious. And then one day I woke up and I was like, why do I even read these things? And I just deleted them. And ever since, I've never looked back. So I don't know what they say about me. In fact, and I even asked my friends or people who know me, if you see anything written about me, do not send it to me. You read, share with your friends, don't bring it to me. What I don't know won't kill me. And then if there's anything that would happen, for instance, oh my good Lord. If I knew I was, like I said, I had my missteps. If I knew there's something I had done and it was going to come out, I would tell the people around me early enough. I'm like, yo, I did that. I did that. So you guys, you understand, right? You will have to let it go. So please don't send me when you see it. So I had to be really true to myself. And I was proper, in the best sense of speaking, a human being who confronted everything as it would be, and then being very purposeful every single day, waking up and saying, I'm not going to go to those pages. I'm not going to, if I see like an article about me, I'll just literally click mute or unfollow the page if I had followed it. I blocked or... and this one goes out, they will blog about me, but that's fine. So I blocked all blog pages so that I'm not tagged. And also I put my settings such that you can't tag me.
Oh, yeah. I like that, taking advantage of what these platforms are offering to protect yourself.
Exactly. Yes. So, yeah. And here I am. Unbothered.
Unbothered.
Yes.
And you clearly look unbothered.
I'm so unbothered.
So I think there's something that you mentioned that I would really want you also to talk about. The issue of learning about these platforms. Because I meet people, how can I protect myself? I'm like, oh, have you learned what Twitter is offering to protect yourself? Have you learned what Instagram has to we don't know, you know. So I would also want you to emphasize on the fact of learning what these platforms are offering to protect you as an individual.
Absolutely. For instance, let me use Instagram as an example. You can, if you get somebody sending you a DM or commenting, you have the option to either restrict or block them. And nowadays, Instagram offers the option to block any new pages that may be formed by the same culprit. And unfortunately, and I think we were discussing this earlier before we started the podcast, whereby if you look at the accounts that have all this negativity, the ones that bully, they're always fake most of the time.
90% of the time.
Yes, you will not find a sober-minded person sitting down to hate on you or to say some mean things. Like I said, uh, positive criticism is okay.
Yes.
For instance, if it's something that you're misleading people on and somebody came and told you, hey, I don't think this is the case, but at least could be the case. I mean, that's okay. But don't come raining on me and saying some mean things just because you can behind the keyboard, just because you can.
But why does the society feel so entitled to give their opinion to public figures like you? Do we feel that we own you? Because, I mean, you're in the public domain.
Yeah.
What characters are there that people feel like, I have a right to tell her how I feel about, and they, as you said, we are online,
Yeah.
we don't know much about you. We only know what you expose.
Sure, yeah.
Yes.
Well, like I said, it's just projection. Oh man, people are so broken out here. So there's so much. Like every time I talk, you see me going away because I reflect, and I try to remember things. Like the other day, I did a fun post and I was like, I'm gonna send 500 bob to a person who guesses something on my page, and some lady came and said, si hata ungepeana 25. The entitlement
yes
is so much. So people feel like they're entitled to you. And unfortunately, most of the time, you'll only trend because of negativity. I'm telling you, I have had so many wins compared to my losses, but
they don't
my wins
trend.
will never go anywhere. They will never go anywhere. The same people who will come and say things. In fact, if there was something negative going around about me, I'd get more traffic than when something positive is happening. And that's just how the society is. It's sadistic. There's a lot of people who are miserable with themselves, and their only outlet, because there's no principal. This is not high school bullying where the principal will get a hold of you, is to hide behind a keyboard and attack that person for the sake of it. And I wonder how they sleep at night.
Being a voice of authority, have you ever taken like any legal actions? Like of saying this account has been constantly attacking me. Like I'm going forward to the police to say this is happening because we have a cyber law in place. Yes. Have you ever taken an initiative to actually go and report and put a case against these people?
The option has always been there, but I've never, because I've managed to contain everything as it should be. Like I said, block, move on, and just grow a thicker skin. But should it ever get there, oh, definitely, I would definitely go ahead and do it.
You think
Yes,
that way?
yes.
Okay, you're a mother, and children nowadays are online. You know, what practices do you take to protect your children as they are on the online platform?
So first of all, I'm one of the few moms who've decided not to open an account.
I noticed,
Yes, for the boys, because I don't know. I don't see why I should make such a decision for them. Where else they don't even have a clue what happens there. But we have very open conversations. Sometimes the kiddos, they're always together. So when they come in, the family scrolling on Instagram, it's like, oh, mommy, that's Instagram. Can we see? And I have to really, really censor my content. So we look at puppies, kittens, and children, and we laugh, So that means even before whatever is on Explore page is whatever you check out the most. So I try to ask myself, what if my kid was looking at this? What would they find? All right. And then, of course, I restrict their screen time a lot. They're very obedient boys. And anyway, they spend a lot of time in school. So they get their screen time. I monitor what they're watching. They're only allowed to go to certain sites or play certain games. Have I caught them doing something they're not supposed to do? There's a little YouTube, man. YouTube is another kind of a place. You might think you won't find things. Even YouTube Kids, it's not 100% child proof. So you find them downloading some bad images, scary images, and you have to actually make them understand, like, hey, this is not good for your mind. It's actually going to do the opposite, but you have to speak a language they will understand according to their age. And then we have an agreement. Of course, I'm trying to teach them to be independent. At the same time, I need them to know I'm the mother. Until they move out of my house, it's my rules. So every time they're watching something, we have a rule. Can I check? Every 15 minutes, can I check what you're watching? My firstborn was a bit clever. He's very quick. So if he was watching something bad, he would like swipe it. But he forgets I'm even more clever. So I'd go and check the last thing he was checking, and I'm like, busted. But it's just sensitizing, supervising, restricting, and definitely also giving them a balance in terms of that freedom and also a choice to make when it comes to screen time.
Have you ever also tried to report people on this platform? Because they always say, like, there's, you see account, like right now we are just from an election. And I would say women politicians, like bear the brand of the online violence,
Yes.
And, as you say, nothing positive trended.
No.
But when it is something negative, it's like, So have you taken the initiative to report? And also someone like you who has a verified account, is the treatment any better? Because I can tell you I've tried to report a few accounts, but after some time, there is nothing that violates our... Yes.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And if you notice, whenever you report something either on Facebook or Instagram, they give you an option to block the person. So sometimes I think I've done definitely a few reports, mostly because of people using either my images or my kids' images. And I can't recall anything that has been resolved so far. Of course, I'm not too keen because it's gotten fewer and far apart. I think the last incident I had, actually, this is a good one. It was on Facebook. Somebody used my images to make a poster of some modeling gig. And I went and I commented and I told them, hey, can you pull that down? If you see the comments that were under my comment, when you don't want to be famous, unajifanya aje, kwa hivyo, some are laughing, and it's just the typical bullying. Thankfully, it's not a big deal for me because it's something I've seen and experienced. But then of course, I reported it. I don't know whether Facebook did anything about it, but then I was so close to just, because I have a lawyer in retainer, and now I'm rethinking what happens in the future. And I think I need to include anytime like that protection has to be there, because they may be in a small scale, but can you imagine if it's in a large scale? You find people using your images in pages that you wouldn't even want, to be in. So, but it's not here, not there.
I like that. Yeah. I really like that. Okay, Maureen, on a positive note.
Yeah.
Also, I would want you, because you're a content creator, I would also want to hear when it comes to the issue of how you have managed to stay afloat for so long. Because we see people, they shoot up, they're down again. They shoot up, they're down again. Most of them, somebody tells you, I don't know, me, I got tired of the violence, I left. So what advice do you have for them? And then another thing you talked about, you told your friends, your community, because one of the safety measures we always advise women in our trainings, we always say, have a community around you.
Yes.
That community is so in handy, even when you're so helpless as an individual, they come up. How did you manage to get that community? Because you remember also nowadays we are living in a world whereby people are just alone. I remember giving advice to a certain forum, and somebody said, but I don't have people around me. People are too busy. So how do you manage to keep that community, especially you who is in the public domain? Because you don't know if people are your friends or they just want to be your friend because of...
True.
Yes.
True. I've seen both the good and the bad of it, where, for instance, my community are people who've known me before all this. And so they know Maureen, not the Maureen Waititu. They know Maureen, they know the girl, they know the mom, they know my struggles. And so we keep each other in check. Remember, your support system doesn't have to be 10 people supporting you, 20 people. It can just be that one person who you go to just offload. Unless you're a lone ranger living in some island, I believe you should have at least one person. If you don't have that, there are very many other options. For instance, journaling. You should journal, write a lot. It gives your thoughts some good perspective where they're well organized. You express yourself, you offload, and then you're able to reflect. Take time. Write down. For instance, we all have our struggles. Every week there's something we're struggling with.
It's part of life.
Exactly. It's part of life. Write it down and ask yourself, what can I do this week to make a difference? Okay. I'll give an example. Maybe you've added a bit of weight, all right? And maybe it's not out of careless eating. You know, especially for us women, there are many factors that we can't control.
Contribute, yes.
And then you get bullied about it. In as much as you're bullied, ask yourself, how do I feel about myself? Is it something that, should it affect me? Am I healthy? Am I doing something about it? And then there's that joy of when they say nobody got you like you do, nobody got you like you do. You have to get your own back. In as much as you may think your source of happiness or support could come from other people, sometimes all it takes is you. You gotta wake up and say, girl, you have to do something about that tummy. And let me tell you, when you're doing something about it, nothing can move you. You just see people commenting and you're like, you wait and see. So there's that gratification of behind what's happening behind the scenes. Remember, what you put out there is just a percentage, a tiny, tiny percentage of your real life. Who do you spend time with? What do you spend time doing? And then if it's something that you have no control over, all right, then seek professional help. All right. Like me, I have always had my doc who we have a check-in. I came out of depression maybe 2 years ago, but I check in with him every month. And sometimes, like, I feel good, and then you go and sit and he asks you a question, and you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't think of it that way. So there's always room to keep improving yourself. So indulge on professional help. Professional help doesn't always have to be something expensive. You can just find a counseling psychologist who keeps you in check, a life coach, good pages that you follow, indulge in good content, journal a lot. And if there's one person or two in your life who keep you in check, so be it. And be open-minded to learning and to also accepting corrections.
I like that.
Yeah.
And Maureen, what more can we do to protect women online? What can we do to create safe spaces? Because if we go on with the trend that is there, we are going to lose the voices of the next generation.
Yes.
You know, I meet so many people and they tell you, no, I'm not on social media. It's too toxic for me.
It's true.
You know, that is one voice who's not there. You know, you champion for women rights.
Yes.
And one of the most powerful platform is a digital platform. You know, so what can we do? Because change also begins with us. It might sound like an overrated cliche, but it begins with us.
Yes.
What more effort can we do to protect these young women like you who are getting into the digital space, who are becoming very big content creators, not only in Kenya, but now they'll start moving across Africa?
All right. So I'll start from the top. We have cyber laws in place. However, I haven't come across anybody who hasn't really struggled, even if they've put a person to face the consequences of cyberbullying. I've not really, there are no cases that you can relate to and say, so if this happens to me, this could be the solution. All right. A lot of these people who bully other people, you find it's so easy to get a hold of them and punish them. But it doesn't happen. It's a long haul.
Hard
You have
process,
to
yes.
go, I don't know, to the police. Oh, Mara, you have to spend money on a lawyer. It's tedious. It's not an overnight thing. It's not like report, grab the person and take them in or
Exactly.
find them. But I think the laws should start working properly. It should be easier to get a hold of and access, because it's true. It's such a toxic environment. In as much as even when you go to positive driven pages, you'll find toxicity in there. You'll find people who board to learn. Like there's a page I see called it's about healing from abuse. So relationship abuse, and you find people who abuse are also there, and they'll try like downgrade other people. If someone comes to the story, they'll try put them down. So it's still not a safe space. All right, but I feel like the laws can be better than they are right now.
So they need to work on the laws.
On the laws.
Yes.
And basically, actually, the laws are fine. It's just that it needs the consequences need to be more implicated. Second, the social media platforms need to do something about.
Exactly.
Yes, we have come a long way. And there's a lot to be done. For instance, being able to block a person, you can block them and they pop up elsewhere. For instance, stalkers are so bad.
But yes.
They will have a million numbers to stalk you with. So what happens on WhatsApp? What happens on the next Android creators? What happens to the iOS? Are they able to pick and block numbers? If it comes to social media, for instance, Facebook and Instagram, you should be able to get rid of this person and block them for life.
For life.
And I know, in as much as Instagram has that option of, okay, they won't access you with any other accounts that they make with this, but what will stop them from having another email address?
Exactly.
Or phone number. But it could be the same gadget they're using. So I don't know about that, but I feel like there's so much that can be done. Then third, it comes down to us. Ask yourself, before you put that bile out there, have you looked at yourself? How perfect are you to actually feel entitled to insult a mother, a single mom, a woman who is grieving? And I say it's not a woman's word. In as much as this, there's been complaints that women are too empowered, there's nothing like that. A woman will almost not win. And like you mentioned, like we saw during the campaign session, there was a lot of bullying. And it's not all women who are built to push back, but you're killing a dream. You're killing somebody's self-confidence. You're killing a child's dream and confidence as well, because even kids get bullied.
A lot.
You ask yourself, like, before I put this out there, like, why am I doing it? Work on yourself and you find no reason to hate. I know this is a distant wish, but I hope that people can conduct themselves better. But I think the most important thing is that there should be consequences. Anytime you drag a person down, I know also the law is not so clear, because you can say something and this other
It
person.
has been said it is very vague.
Yes, it's too vague. But what are the consequences? I think there should be
consequences.
There should be serious consequences on bullies, because they're killing people. They're killing everything. They're even
killing
dreams. You've seen people committing suicide.
It's true.
Because of being bullied. And again, it doesn't choose everybody. It's actually susceptible to it, even if you're not actually in the limelight. You take that one video on TikTok, even if you have 10 followers, it goes around, you get bullied, down. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think I would also want to add when you talked about people sending you the things they had seen online.
Mhm.
First of all, I would advise people never ever share information
Yes.
that is hurting another person.
Mhm.
You become what we call a second perpetrator of online
Yes.
violence. So you're
Yes.
also taking part in the violence. And
Exactly.
second of all of us have a role to
Yes.
play. When you're
Yes.
online,
Mm.
community doesn't need to be, we know each other.
Yes.
You can actually come in and protect this woman who is going through this
Yeah.
cyber violence.
Exactly.
Maureen, thank you so much. Do you have anything else to say?
Wow. What I can say is let's learn to conduct ourselves in a positive manner. Ask yourself what would happen if I were in this person's shoes, the person who's being bullied. What if that was my child? What if that was my wife, my sister, my husband, my brother, or a person I love? Just hold back and trust me, whatever you put out in the universe comes back to you. You block your own blessings by putting out all the negativity. Let's conduct ourselves better.
Well, thank you so much. There you have it, Maureen speaking about cyber violence. Let's put kindness out there. Let's create a ripple effect when it comes to kindness, and it will come back to us. See you next time.